It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White is here as well. Good afternoon.
Happy Monday.
It is very crowded here at the South Point right now with the rodeo. A lot of cowboy hats. At some point, I feel like I have to invest in a cowboy
hat, boots, something.
Definitely not boots. I know for at least for me. Well, I wore cowboy boots one time. It was not comfortable. I'm not doing that again. Not doing that again. Especially with everything, with just walking around. Like no thanks. But the hat, that could be fun.
Yeah.
Those things are expensive. Those hats, by the way.
Black ones that Chris Andrews and them are wearing. Those are very nice cowboy hats.
Oh, they're incredibly nice.
Yeah,
they're worth every penny. Rodeo here again. It's just walking through today. Just coming over to the studio. Every table is packed.
Oh, Ann and I went to get food between shows, and we could barely find a spot.
2:00 in the afternoon. 2:00 in the afternoon. There's not a seat to be had at the table right now. It just shows how packed it is. And the incredible business here at the South Point during the rodeo, and really at all times of the year. Packed house yesterday for the NFL games. Boy, before we get into tonight, yesterday was one of the weirder NFL days that I can remember. Just going through game by game here. And I mean, it probably should have been a telltale sign when the Patriots and the Steelers go over the total in the first half that we're in for a weird week.
Yeah, you're right.
But Zach Wilson was arguably the second best quarterback of the day yesterday. Jake Browning was arguably the best quarterback again for the second consecutive week. Joe Flacco is the best quarterback the Browns have had all year. Just the fourth walk-off punt return in NFL history happened yesterday, which also kind of amazing that two of the four have happened in the same season because Xavier Gibson in week 1 for the Jets against Buffalo. Now Tylan Wallace yesterday walking it off against the Rams for the Ravens. A 3-0 game, which is still a shame that it didn't end in 0-0. And everyone talking about a clearly correct call by the refs against the Chiefs. Still with Kadarius Toney lined up at least a foot offside, wiping out what, in all honesty, would have been one of the best plays we've ever seen in league history if that thing had held up without the penalty. And then, of course, the nightcap, Dallas just stomping Philadelphia, which, in all honesty, both of us on the desk saw it coming.
Yes, we did. You were on Cowboys -3.5. I was on Cowboys team total.
Those are both winners, Alex.
I want to let you gloat a little bit more. Your Jets had 30 points. That was only 3 points less than the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, I mean, bravo. When the season's over, finally come out and have a real offensive effort. I mean, it legitimately is like a month's worth of points for the Jets the way things have gone.
So I did hear one of the Jets players said he was talking to Wilson before the game, and Zach Wilson had made a comment like, I'm going out there like I have nothing to lose because I don't. What are they going to do, bench me again? So he played great. Great second half for him. Do you think we can see that again moving forward?
Maybe one of these last few games, not consistent. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. It was the best game he's ever had at the pro. Also, by the way, for Houston out of that game, we can go there. By the way, if you had the under in that game, take a lap, unless if you got it at the beginning of the week at 37. No points at halftime. 36 second half points involving the worst offense arguably in the NFL, putting 30 on your head in order to get that game over the total. Yikes.
Another bad beat is if you had the Jags +3.5 going for a 2-point conversion when they're down 4 and they don't get it.
Yeah, it's not great. Again, there was Seth Walder, who I respect at ESPN, put the numbers behind that. And we saw Peterson, remember, did this in the playoff game a year ago against the Chargers, and it worked out because they got the 2 and ended up being able to just kick the game-winning field goal at the end of the game against the Chargers last year, which kind of makes sense that something like that would work against the Chargers. But, yeah, it was a brutal that was a bad beat if you had that. Atlanta, don't even want to mention them. Don't even want to mention the Falcons. The entire NFC South, except for Carolina, is at 6-7 right now. Tampa Bay, if the playoffs started today, would host the Philadelphia Eagles in the first round, which is just totally and patently ridiculous. But hey, the NFC South, a Division 2, apparently, division in quotes. But Niners comfortable, even though Seahawks played, I thought, pretty well, covered basically all the late numbers, got there pretty easily. Niners just too much in the end of that. Purdy, going into today, Brock Purdy still the MVP favorite based off his performance yesterday. I don't have a problem with him being the favorite. I still would vote for Tyreek Hill if I had a vote going into tonight. And there's no reason to think Tyreek Hill won't have a big night tonight against Tennessee.
Absolutely. Some books have Dak Prescott right there with him, right?
Yeah, it's a 50-50 split.
Okay.
Yeah. Some have Dak as like one book at Dak 3-1 and Purdy plus 350. You're splitting hairs at that point. The other book had them reversed. One other book had them at both at plus 325. Like, you're pretty even right now. My vote, as I've told you on the air, Tyreek Hill would be number one going into tonight. McCaffrey would be number two, and then I don't care what order you do with Dak and Purdy. But unlike Purdy, the Niners the rest of the way, and I know it's a little more recappy than usual today, but I think yesterday's zaniness warrants this discussion. But so the Niners have the Cardinals this week. They're humongous road favorites. They're 2 touchdowns on the road. They played Baltimore in the last game on Christmas night, which, by the way, could be 1 seed versus 1 seed going into that game. The Commanders, they're going to put a lot of points on Washington. And then the Rams, where the Rams might need the game, but the Niners are probably going to need the game in order to hold on to that 1 seed. Like Philadelphia beats the Seahawks. The Eagles are not losing another game in the regular season, with the Giants twice and Arizona once. So they're going to be big favorites in those 3 games, as we know. But in that Christmas game, Alex, where everyone's going to be watching, it's the prime time, 8:15 Eastern kick. It can be 1 seed versus 1 seed. If Baltimore wins next week in Jacksonville and still has the number 1 seed in the AFC going into that game, Lamar Jackson's probably going to keep moving up in the MVP race. I think he's number 5 right now, but big game on a Sunday night in front of everyone against on Jacksonville on Sunday. He's going to move up. That could be one of those MVP bowls we're talking about on that Monday night, Christmas night, Purdy against Jackson. And if one of those 2 dudes plays a great game and their team wins, they're probably going to be number 1 in the odds heading into the final 2 weeks of the season.
Absolutely.
Just looking ahead on that.
Yeah, that's a great game. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, you know what? The other 2 Christmas games are total clunkers on paper right now. The Raiders play the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have all their problems right now. I will say this on the whole Kansas City Kadarius Toney thing. And for people that have listened to me this whole year, the fact that I'm defending the refs in a call that went for Buffalo just shows how correct the call was. And the way that the Chiefs have been whining after this whole thing went down, it just shows to me that you're done. Your season's over. Once you get broken by that, I know it's a rare call before. There's a point of emphasis, though, this year. Last year, they called 2 of those offensive offsides all year. There were 12 this year. Yeah. There was 3 yesterday, including 1 on the Eagles on a tush-push last night. So, at least, look, I get it if it's one thing. If it's like you're splitting hairs and it was close, and they threw the flag on a ticky-tack. And initially, you and I were watching a game in here together, and I said, oh, that's pretty ticky-tack. And then they showed the replay, and Kadarius Toney's helmet is legitimately 1.5 feet in the beyond the neutral zone. Forget in the neutral zone, but beyond it. It's like, all right, well, you deserve to have that call, dude. And it wiped out what would have been the best play of the NFL season, and maybe even one of the best for a Chiefs run where this team has won multiple titles. Maybe even one of the best runs that one of the best plays that we've seen from them.
Absolutely, and then we saw Rashee Rice come out and have a great game, thinking maybe they have their wide receiver position figured out a little bit. But, man, Kansas City still has so many problems. The Bills do too, though. I mean, they get that win, but to give up as many points as they did to the Chiefs and let them hang in that game after they started so hot in that first half, that just worries me for them moving forward.
All I'll say is because don't worry, we'll get the Monday night games. Don't worry, everyone. Stephie Smalls with us in a few moments. But Buffalo-Dallas is the most interesting game next week, period. It is. And the way it's been bet early is interesting to me as well, where I thought, just eyeballing it should be a pick. In Buffalo, should be a pick, where I think Dallas is better than Buffalo at this point. I think they're 2 points better than Buffalo, at least, personally. And yeah, at least. I'm going on the light end here. I'm just walking ourselves through this here real quick. Buffalo just beat Kansas City in a game where they only needed 20 to win the game. That hasn't been the case in that rivalry over the years, as we know. But this open 1.5, it's 2 behind us. It's 2.5 basically everywhere else. Now, I know there's a gigantic home road split with Dallas where they're arguably the best team in the NFL at home. And on the road, they're still a good team, but they're not the juggernaut they are at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. So that, as we go through this week, and by the way, Dallas plays back-to-back road games against the top of the AFC East with Buffalo and Miami back-to-back. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's but that's the one I'm going to be monitoring the whole week.
That's very tempting for me. To just looking at it now, I have to adjust my numbers from this weekend after these 2 games tonight. But I know I had Dallas pretty high for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I was happy to see them win in the fashion that they did to kind of keep my number there. But looking at it, I was a little alarmed and like following them because I had them very close to the Niners. And I know some people said they have the Niners about 5 points better than anyone else. So I've had Dallas pretty high. 2.5 for Buffalo. That's a lot of respect for the Bills right now.
Yeah, again, I still think the Bills have been overrated in the market all year. That's what I've been hammering all year. And for most of the year, I've looked mostly right on that. And here we are. I mean, look, if the Bills beat the Cowboys this week as a short home favorite, they're making the playoffs. I feel fairly confident at that point because then they're at the Chargers. Justin Herbert broke his throwing index finger yesterday. By the way, you ready for Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell on Thursday night, guys? You ready for that? Where I'd actually argue Easton Stick's the better quarterback in that game at this rate, but how O'Connell's looked the last few weeks. Then they play the Patriots, where the Patriots already beat them. It's a revenge game, and it's at home. That's not going to go well for New England in that spot. And then they play the Dolphins week 18, where there is, as ridiculous as this seems, and again, I'm pushing this real quick, but there is a realistic scenario Buffalo can still steal the division, as wild as that sounds, because Miami's last 3 games are Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo. It's probably going to be, based off this number, Miami's going to be the smallest of favorites against Dallas in that game in Miami. I'm not sure if that's right. I think that should be a pick as well. And then they're going to be a dog at Baltimore, and then they'll be a slight favorite at home against Buffalo week 18. Like that's, and again, this pains me saying this, but it's not impossible that Buffalo finds a way to win out. And if they win out, they're going to have an opportunity to steal the division from Miami, which would be something I don't think anyone in the AFC wants to see, because what would make Buffalo's path extraordinarily difficult would be having to go on the road for 3 games.
Right.
You give them a home game and possibly 2 home games with the way everyone else around them is very shaky. That's how you end up with a team that underachieved for more than half of the year playing in the Super Bowl here in Vegas.
And that is alarming with Miami because everybody knows there are 3 losses to the Bills, the Eagles, and the Chiefs. So they've struggled against these elite level teams. So we'll see how they do down the final stretch here.
Can we take a break real quick? Is that okay? We'll take a break real quick. When we get back, we'll get into the Monday night games. When we return, Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold them or fold them, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in. Sports by the Book is the show. South Point Studio here. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside. Let's get into these games tonight. Let's start in Miami. Dolphins and Titans. Alex White. Dolphins 13.5 at the moment behind us. Total 45. This is pivoted all over the place from 13 to 14. I'll be honest with you. I expected to see 14.5 at some point, and we never got there. So pretty clear the buy point was, the peak was 14. We're not going to get north of it unless if something funky happens in the last 2 hours before kick here. But I'm not touching this. But I will say, with that total coming down from 47 to 45, Miami at home this year. Now, granted, it's pretty funny where we say, oh, Miami hasn't beaten a good team yet. Miami has not played, at least at the time of them playing said teams, they have not played a reasonable team at home all year. They obviously put 70 on Denver. Denver in week 3, very different than Denver right now, as we know. Denver amazingly only 1 game out of first place in the AFC West also. They beat the Giants, who Daniel Jones played in that game, but they were still working through a whole boatload of issues at that point and still are. The Panthers, who were the worst team in the NFL. The Patriots and the Raiders. Those are the teams they played at home. At the time of playing the opponent, I did not mention a single reasonable team. And now they play the Titans tonight, who are also not a reasonable team this year. So, Alex, I like this total over 45. Now, the question on this is, are we going to get enough out of Tennessee in order to get there? Because I feel pretty good. The only game at home they've been held under 30 was that game against the Raiders, where they missed a field goal. They had a drive into the red zone that they got stopped on a 4th and 2 at the 5-yard line. So they had their opportunities to get themselves into the 30s and just couldn't quite get there. So here's the question. If we're going to get over here, we probably need at least 14 out of Tennessee in order to have a shot here. I think we can get that out of the Titans. So I like over more so than anything. It also would, the other reason too that I'm not just laying a 13.5, that back door is always wide open with that big of a number in the NFL.
Absolutely, it is. And you're right. Titans came out fast last week against the Colts. I think they scored 17 in that first half, and then they just gave that game away to Indianapolis. But I like first half over. And
I have no problem with that.
It is 23.5, and the Dolphins are 9-2 to the over in the first half this season. They have the second most first half points at 17.8 and 20.8 at home. That's asking the Titans to do a little bit less here in this one. We keep talking about all these quarterbacks. You're talking about Tyreek Hill. He is having an outstanding season, but don't forget about Tua Tagovailoa. 3rd in passing yards, 2nd in passing touchdowns, all while completing 70% of his passes. So he is having an outstanding year as well, and I think they'll get the job done here in Miami.
Looking at the later game, the Giants and the Packers, we already talked about it earlier in the week. You and I are both already on Big Blue plus 6.5. But here's the question now, Alex, and I think I know your answer. 5.5's the number now. We can't do anything here with this at 5.5. But the only question I do have, do you dare try for that pregame middle and try to land this thing right on Green Bay by 6?
Oh,
do you dare do it?
I don't think I can get there. Would you?
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't. You're asking too much. in order to do that. All right, joining us right now. You find her show on YouTube, the Stephie Smalls show, of course. One of the more entertaining follows on Twitter at Stephie Smalls as well. It is by her name, Stephie Smalls, with us right now. Steph, pleasure to have you. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Yeah, I Steph. Sometimes in this business, you forget to do the easy things, and that both of us forgot, or at least I forgot to put my headphones on in order to hear you. So that's a brilliant job right out of the gate by me. Thankfully for Alex, she was actually prepared. But perfect timing of getting you on here. You're a Giants fan. This has been obviously a rough go of it this year, but at least the last few weeks have been a little bit fun with our guy Tommy DeVito, and here he is tonight getting the start. His family's handed out chicken cutlets in the MetLife Stadium parking lot. What's your expectation tonight now, especially the betting market's betting the Giants down to 5.5?
Yeah, I've seen that now. I actually did. I normally don't take my New York Giants. I did take them when that number was there at 6.5. 5.5, I'm going to stay a little bit away from here. I think at any point, and we know this when it comes to backup quarterbacks, they can come crashing back down to earth. I think that Green Bay's defense has looked very good. Makes me a little bit nervous because DeVito does like to take some sacks there. 1 in every 4 dropbacks, he's taking a sack. So 5.5, going to stay away from. My expectations are obviously low with this team, as they should be, but I think this defense is playing tougher than people realize, and they can put up a little bit of a fight.
Steph, so in these last 4 weeks with Tommy DeVito completing 66% of his passes, he's done well. They've trusted him to throw the ball. We've seen a lot less of Saquon Barkley, and for a guy who had 10 touchdowns last season, he only has 1 this season. Do you think we could see that turn around, or do you kind of agree with them going a little bit pass heavy?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that Green Bay, too, isn't historically great against the run. If they want to stay in this game, I think you give the ball to Saquon, you give it to him early, and then you let DeVito take some of those deep shots downfield.
Steph, just looking at the props in this game, because we know you're a big prop bettor. What have you gravitated towards for this one? Of course, we'll ask you on the second game in a little bit, but just on this Giant Packer game, what props have you gravitated towards?
Yeah, I actually like Jordan Love to throw an interception tonight, plus 100. That's been a little bit all over the place. I think it opened up there at plus 110. He has 3 straight games, no interception. But again, like I said about this New York Giants defense, they are tough. I think they're going to try to get Love to throw the ball. They have stacked up 8 interceptions in the past 3. So I think you're getting a nice number there on Jordan Love. And then you go over and look at Dontavian Wicks. Starting to be a little bit popular of a choice here with Christian Watson out, but this is a guy that has sneakily gone over his longest reception for 4 straight games, over 17.5 minus 114. Wouldn't argue if you take him. You can even take him to player to record the longest reception of the game, plus 700. Anytime touchdown, plus 310. So I like Dontavian Wicks. I'm staying away from his receiving yards just because it became a little bit too popular for my liking.
You know, you bring up the Watson injury, and for Green Bay, who, look, Steph, the Packers are vaulting up the NFC standings right now. If the playoffs started today, they would be in. If they win, they'd be tied with Minnesota going in to the final 4 weeks of the season. And, you mentioned that Jordan Love has played turnover-free football. This is a different dude that we've seen over the last month, and that's why, at least right now, I think the Packers I think they're better than Detroit at the moment, the way the Lions have played the last month.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think, it's interesting to see the Lions play the way that they have. Luckily for Goff, he's going to be in a dome the rest of the season. We know Goff likes to play well when he's in a dome, when he's faced with the elements. We don't see exactly the Goff that Lions fans like to see. But, this NFC North, I just be wary of what ends up happening. The Packers defense got hot at the right time. I like what they're doing. I actually still like Matt LaFleur to potentially be a Coach of the Year candidate. They started out 2-5. They lost Aaron Rodgers. If he can maybe make a run for that and a name for himself in that race.
Very interesting. And then you're talking about the Packers defense. Since I'm on the Giants as well, I was really looking at how they play, and they play slow. Bottom 5 in seconds per play, 30.1 seconds per play. What do you think about this total? It's sitting at 37 and it hasn't really moved.
Yeah, I like the under in this. I said this from the start, even starting to handicap this game early last week. I think both these defenses, I'm just going to trust in that. Let Jordan Love maybe make some mistakes. Let DeVito be DeVito and trust in these defenses to keep that score lower.
Stephie Smalls with us right now, breaking down both games on the Monday night card tonight. Of course, the Giants right now down to 5.5-point underdogs at home against the red-hot Green Bay Packers. And now let's shift over to the other game, the high-flying Dolphins welcoming in Tennessee. 13.5-point favorites right now, Steph. Total 45. We've seen Miami just pummel these bad teams over and over again. Is this just another one of those where an overwhelmed Tennessee team gets run out of the building in South Beach?
Yeah, it's hard because I have a lot of respect for Vrabel, and you can never really write him off. But you look at this Tennessee team winless in 6 road games, and this was kind of a stay away this game to me. I think there's a reason why Tennessee is plus 600 on the money line. So a few things I liked in this game. Otherwise, I think the expectation is that Miami does exactly what the numbers are showing us.
So Tyreek Hill's receiving prop tonight, just real fast. It's the highest one for a wide receiver so far this year in any game. The people are only betting it over. It was 105.5 this morning. It's now up to 108.5 with juice on the over in more spots than none. So look, I would advise to not take that number. And there's also plenty of other numbers like longest reception and even the anytime touchdown. I think I'd rather have it laying almost $2 on that. But this is what makes this prop market so fun, Steph, where we can just get off the generic stuff and find some other stuff that has better value.
Yeah, absolutely. I think his, longest reception there for Tyreek is the only way I would play this. I'm staying away from it. Even, this happened when Cooper Kupp kind of made his run there 2 years ago. And once it gets up past, it's 105, 108, creeping a little too high for me. So I'm staying away from that. Not going to take the under. I can see him going over it, but I'm not putting any money there on the over.
I will say, Steph and Alex, right now, there's the alt receiving number that seems the best to me is 160.5, 4-1. I actually wouldn't mind going over. I know it's a lunacy high. It's a lunacy number, but it's Tyreek Hill, and we'll get into the MVP discussion in a second. But I all that
pizza money.
I mean, why not? A few bucks here, why not? I think that's not the worst long shot bet in the world, Alex.
Well, you just led right into it. I want to ask Steph about the MVP, and Jeff just mentioned at the beginning of our show, he's got Tyreek Hill number 1 on his list, but I know we've got Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott pretty much the favorites at the sports book. Do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I think this is Dak. It pains me as a Giants fan to say this. I think this is Dak's race to lose. So we'll see what happens. I know he took the front runner here. Purdy sitting behind him at plus 200. I also am on Tyreek. I think there's a strong case for him and what he's going to accomplish, usually a quarterback award. So, but right now, if I had to pick, and I'm voting, I'm going with Tyreek here. I have a ticket on him 20-1. I think that's down to 13-1. But right now, probably Dak's award to lose.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that at this point. And also too, when we talked about the Cowboys, they're in the middle of this just ridiculous stretch against high end team after high end team. They've handled the first 2 steps of it relatively easily. Now they go on the road to Buffalo and Miami back-to-back before returning home to play the Lions, which should honestly be a showcase game for Dak with the way Detroit's defense has looked the last month. But, I mean, Steph, if he plays well and they beat Buffalo and lose a high-scoring game to Miami, that's probably your MVP favorite, even with how great, like you said, that Purdy right now the favorite at some books, Dak at some other books. But I think I'm in agreement with you on Dak that if they win these games down the stretch, he's probably going to win this thing. And it also doesn't hurt that brand doesn't hurt things for Dak.
No, absolutely not.
And before we let you go, Steph, I got to put you on the spot here because we got a month to go in the season. Okay, who's playing in the Super Bowl 2 months from now? Who you got right now?
Right now, it's 49ers, Ravens. I'm going to stick with my preseason choice, ride it out for now. I think, again, even looking at the MVP runnings, I don't know that I wouldn't write Lamar off quite yet. I think we're probably a week or two away from being able to do that. But I think he's still a name to watch. So I'm going to go with 49ers Ravens. I think we're going to have a really interesting playoff picture, though, here.
The AFC playoff picture is an absolute mess right now. Yeah. The NFC playoff picture, it's the three teams, and then everyone else is pretty mediocre at the moment. So it's wide open. That's for sure. I'm lower on Baltimore as well. What does it would be with these AFC teams? I'm just low on all of them, obviously. But the Niners, I mean, it's undeniable right now. If they stay healthy, they will be here in Vegas. At least that's how I feel. I just don't see Dallas being able to win a road game.
But I'm with you, Steph. I'm on the Ravens too.
Yeah, right now right now I have the McDaniel Bowl. That's what I have. 49ers and Dolphins.
I know.
That's what I have at the moment. So
I have one more question for you. I know this Tommy DeVito thing has been fun, and I know you have Tyrod Taylor in case, but Daniel Jones' injury, what do you think the Giants do moving forward?
Yeah, I actually am a little bit lower on the Tommy DeVito. I think that this has been a really fun story for fans, especially when, you see Daniel Jones go down, then Tyrod goes down, and then you have this guy, he's Italian, it's New York, and it's a really fun story. I think what the Giants did is find a solidified backup that's cheaper than having a vet on the team. I think that Daniel Jones will get the start, but I do believe that the Giants are going to end up drafting a quarterback in this draft.
It'll be interesting to see how far up the Giants draft. Yeah. Obviously, it's going to depend on how the stretch run goes. If it goes well from a drafting perspective and the Giants lose out, they could easily be in the running for Caleb Williams or Drake May. Win one game, and all of a sudden things can get a little bit wonky with that draft selection. Again, she's Stephie Smalls. Get her on the tweets at that. Stephie Smalls. The Stephie Smalls Show as well. Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube at 3:00 Eastern Time, noon Pacific. Steph, always a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate you guys. Good luck tonight.
Absolutely. Stephie Smalls, everyone. Always love talking to her. If you're not following her on Twitter right now, you're doing it wrong. Very, very entertaining on the timeline to see what Steph always has to say on sports and really anything. Very, very funny Twitter account she has. So
I like how realistic she was with the backup quarterback.
Well,
and how at any moment, we were just talking about that, and she says this is fun with Tommy DeVito, and just like Joshua Dobbs. It was fun for Minnesota. They had their little thing, and now we're kind of seeing the wheels fall off there.
Alex, I want to get back into Miami and Tennessee real quick because, this, and we'll get Vinny. Vinny will be with us in 10 minutes, so we'll get the report from behind the book. But it really is just diving further into this game. It really is amazing how the Dolphins' schedule has broken for them this year. With the fact that legitimately, again, advantage of having an extra home game. Remember, 9 in the AFC this year, where they have legitimately. It is December 11th, so we have 5 games left for them. They legitimately have not played a good team at home all year, and part of the reason that, again, even though right now at the moment that if you're making me pick right now that I have a Miami, San Francisco Super Bowl is if Miami gets home field. Even with having to play, obviously, higher quality teams, I think that is a distinct advantage, having to play in the humidity in January. Well, they can stay home, fast track down there at Hard Rock Stadium. That's a gigantic advantage for Miami, more so than even Baltimore has in Baltimore. Kansas City has an Arrowhead, even though, in all honesty, that might be not that big of an advantage as it was even 2 years ago now for the Chiefs. But tonight, I really do think these next 2 weeks where the Jets defense is good. We know that. One of the best units in the league. Last time they played the Jets, that game got really out of hand because the Jets offense couldn't do anything. And the Jets offense actually almost produced as many points for the Dolphins as they did for the Jets that day. But I am just I'm so curious to see what the Dolphins now down the stretch where this is a group that, they made the playoffs last year. But it's a whole different ball of wax when you're going for the number 1 seed. I'm just curious to see how they handle playing for a number 1 seed, even with these next two opponents. I mean, look, they're a huge favorite against the Jets next week. They're double digits. Not quite tonight, but they're double digits against the Jets. These are two games. If you're Miami, you handle your business, you win these two games, and get set for that monster Christmas Eve matchup against Dallas.
And you said it off air, Jeff. If there's a year for Miami to do it, to get to the Super Bowl, it has to be this year. Tyreek Hill in his prime, about to break records. This is the year. The Chiefs, struggling. The Bills are where they are. So I agree with you. This is the year. I think they handle their business the next 2 weeks. And then if they can come out 1-2 from those last three, will that be good enough for a 1 seed?
So I think Miami has to win out, personally.
Okay.
I think actually, no. Oh, my math's wrong. They have to beat Baltimore. That's what it comes down to. They have to go in these last 5 games 4-1 with a win over Baltimore. Or you just go 5-0 and handle your business the rest of the way. But as we know, and we're going to see that this could potentially show up in the Philly Dallas potential tiebreak that we could end up getting if they're both 14-3, which is realistic at this point. Philly's loss to the Jets, as ridiculous as it was when it happened, would actually hand them the division because they would have the better NFC record, which would mean both of those teams have had ridiculous road losses, Dallas and Philadelphia. That ridiculous loss Dallas took in week 3 in Arizona ends up hurting significantly more because it happened within the conference. The other 2 losses, of course, to Philadelphia and San Francisco, that hands the division to Philly. So losing the non-con game for Miami, not the end of the world. You don't want to do it, obviously. But if Miami's losses are to Philadelphia, 2 of their losses are to Philadelphia and Dallas, that's much better than losing to Buffalo week 18. Well, now obviously Baltimore because of the head-to-head tiebreak that would come into play.
Very interesting. So yes, see what they can do these next 5 weeks. Starting tonight, but 14-point favorite. This one, I think we got it, but you never know in the NFL. And like we keep saying, this is the year for the Dolphins. You're going to do it.
So before we bring Vinny in, I just want to bring this up. Pretty mediocre college basketball slate tonight. The best game on the board is Yale and Quinnipiac. The Bobcats at Quinnipiac actually have been hit over the last hour, down from 9 to 8, or 8.5 behind us. NBA-wise, it's a big card. I didn't bet anything. Did you hop in on anything NBA-wise tonight, or even with the big card? Like, we're getting back more to regular season play, so it's going to get harder on a night-to-night basis.
Right. I didn't jump in anything yet. I keep looking at the Clippers. Am I crazy? I really like the Clippers now that they're starting to mesh with the James Harden.
You want to lay 13?
I don't want to lay 13.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is right now. I would, again, now that we're out of the in-season tournament, there will be very few NBA bets that I make the rest of the regular season. I just don't bet it. It's just not my thing.
We'll give it a few days and see. I do like one in hockey, though.
Please.
I like the Detroit Red Wings at Dallas. I took it plus 1.5 at minus 145, and then a little bit on the money line because I think they can get the win here. The Red Wings really play to their competition, so they beat good teams. They won 3 games as underdogs against the Devils, the Boston Bruins, and Minnesota, and then the next 2 they lose to San Jose and Ottawa. So now they're going to go to Dallas, play to their level, and this Dallas Stars team is struggling. They are 3-7 in their last 10, which you don't like to see. I mean, I think Ottinger and them get it figured out, but right now, good time to bet against the Stars.
The VGK held on to that game on Saturday against the Stars, right?
I think it was 6-1.
Yeah, held on. I mean, it was 3-1 at the end of the first period, and I'm like, all right, if this gets close, I'll come back. But all I will say is, right now with the NHL, at least on the East side, the New York Rangers are really. I thought they were going to win the East going into the year this year.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or my annual, hey, Toronto's got to bust through at some point, right?
Yes.
Which, yes, at some point in theory that will happen. But the Rangers, to me at the moment, Alex, look pretty much the part. And I know VGK has the most points in the NHL still. But the Rangers, to me, should be, and I know they are at least one book, should be the betting favorites to win the Cup.
I really like Boston again.
So nothing wrong with that.
Except for the fact that they got knocked out in the first round last year. So there is a little hesitation there. But you're right. The Rangers, they have been good for the last 2 or 3 years. Very good on the Eastern Conference side. So, I mean, it's up in the air. Any of these. The Eastern Conference is tough.
Yes. Yes, it is.
A lot of good teams on that side. And it's funny. The Knights have the most points, and it's because they like to freak us all out and go to overtime or have unnecessary shootouts. So
5 overtime losses for VGK. They've only been beaten regulation 5 times.
It's crazy.
So, it's going to be look. We're about a quarter of the way, a little more than a quarter of the way through in the NHL season now. 30 games for most of these teams on the 82 game season. All right, when we get back, Vincenzo Vinny Magliulo going to join us next, giving us the behind-the-book perspective of what's going on a Monday night. Twin billing tonight, the better way to put it than a doubleheader here on Sports by the Book South Point Studio.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Sports by the Book is the show. About 20 minutes or so left for us today. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White's here. And look who joined us. Our guy, Vinny Magliulo. By the way, can I tease what you told me yesterday for Friday's show with Jimmy?
Sure.
Can I tease that?
Yeah, you should tease it.
On Friday, on our Football Friday show,
Yes.
Jimmy Vaccaro will be here.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be a portion of a segment, at least, maybe a whole segment.
Could be.
Could be. Maybe even a whole hour. Who knows?
Could snowball.
On spa etiquette.
That's correct.
Friday, 2 to 4 Pacific time. Get your phone alarm set. You are not going to want to miss it.
I would say that given Jimmy's announcement yesterday to Chris and I that he had just some observations of going, because he's quite fond of the spa. And so Chris and I suggested that he come on and talk about spa etiquette protocol. So that's going to happen Friday.
He was a little upset with what he had seen.
Yeah, I think there was, some folks didn't seem to know exactly what to do.
So it's a good learning lesson.
Yeah.
I want to look. Jimmy is in the top 0.1% of people that I would want to listen to on spa etiquette.
Friday, you'll get the opportunity.
I can't wait. He'll also be in the producer's chair as well, probably again.
Yeah, I don't know if that's. He might need.
He might
be on the free.
In all honesty, Vinny, I might just give up my area. Let the three of you go ahead with it, and I'll be back.
The studio might not be big enough.
No, Friday. I mean, I might just step aside for that segment.
Yeah. By the way, I had a choice to be here or be at the DeVito family tailgate.
Yeah, why aren't you there?
Today.
What's going on here?
So I'm hoping to at least get something FedExed.
the DeVito family parking lot. This is from New York Post Sports right now on Twitter. I'm not joking. I am looking at a video right now of the whole spread of chicken cutlet. Looks like some arancini as well. Some sausage and peppers, some baked ziti, the whole thing. Now you got me on the sausage and peppers for after the show
definitely.
Today,
and I'm going to tell you right now, the Giants may pass on the pregame meal and just go out to the parking lot.
No, I would too. I would too if I were.
Why wouldn't you?
Homemade Italian food. I'm in. Let's go.
Right.
Let's
you
go
gotta
right
love
now.
it. So,
speaking
of tonight, as we money showing for the Giants tonight.
Yeah, I don't think either of us are too surprised by that, Vinny.
No, I think when you look at the support for points are at a premium, right? Let's face it, Alex. We've talked about this quite a bit, and the thing is that the Giants, they initially took the 6.5. Chris opened the game 6.5 last Sunday night, and they took it, and then went back to 6.5. And it was at 6.5 up until last night and this morning. And they took the 6.5, they took the 6, and now we're down to 5.5. And I think we're starting to see some 5s out there in the market. So support for the Giants tonight, and not a real surprise. Total even coming up at 37. I mean, it was down to we opened at 37, it got down to 36. So but people like to. Give me my team in over. So
I think we'll have a good game here. You can't discredit what Green Bay has done to get to this point and how Jordan Love has looked. 4 straight games with multiple touchdown passes, 3 straight without an interception. So he has looked impressive as of late. But as you mentioned, taking the points, they're at home. They play a slower tempo. So thinking they can hang in this one.
Yeah.
But are you impressed with Jordan Love?
I am. I give him credit. I think, overall, I think LaFleur's done a pretty good coaching job, things considered. And especially, again, this shows the length of the season and the trials and tribulations of the season. And now with 17 games on the schedule, there's a lot more belief by teams that if they get on a roll and find a rhythm, that look, we're in the playoff discussion, and all they want is a chance to get in, right? So with 7 teams in each conference now vying for a tournament, called the tournament playoff spot. Listen, anything is possible. We've seen wild cards. The Giants, a great example. Speaking of wild cards that have gone on to have success and actually win the Super Bowl in years past. So. There's a lot more teams, and off air we were talking about. Look at the AFC. 7-6 is getting more publicity, or as much publicity as the top 3 seeds, right? Because they're alive. So
look, the AFC playoff picture is and the funny part of it is, it could even be more jumbled if the Raiders had found a way to win that game that set football back 40 years yesterday.
Actually, almost 80.
80?
Well, that was, I think the last time was a 0-0 tie.
You know what? I put my brain in 2013 instead of 2023. But, Vinny, I not to detract from the Miami game, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But, that is a jumbled mess of mediocrity on the AFC side right now. It's kind of hilarious that even though Flacco reverted to the practice squad today and anyone could technically sign up for Cleveland.
I don't understand management's thinking in that.
Yeah.
And Chris and I were talking about this before I came on. It's mind-boggling.
If I were the Steelers, I'd be like, "Hey, Joe, how much money do you need?"
What do you say?
Right? Seriously, of all
right within the division.
That's if I were the Steelers, I'm not even thinking twice to at least mess around with Cleveland. Also,
I don't understand.
But Vinny, these teams 7-6.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh, I don't think they're any good. Indianapolis, I don't think they're any good. Houston, if C.J. Stroud is out for any time with that concussion he suffered yesterday, they are in big trouble.
Yep.
The Broncos, who took full advantage of Justin Herbert getting hurt, even though Herbert was pretty terrible in that game before he got hurt anyway.
The Broncos controlled that game right from the beginning, actually.
Yeah. I mean, other than the interception right out of the gate, then as soon as the Chargers chargered and got nothing having the ball at the 10-yard line, you knew that game was over. Jake Browning's renaissance the last 2 weeks. And then just lurking there, currently 11th, is the team that has been power rated in the top 7 all year in Buffalo.
But, you could call it mediocrity. You could call it, wow, they're this and that. But the bottom line is they're playing better. All of them are playing, and they're right there. And they're right there. And from our perspective, that's good because they're alive. And it makes for more competitive games. You want teams playing for, and then bettors want that as well, right? So it's better for the league. It's better for our business as well to have teams, more teams relevant to a playoff position. And, that's good for business.
And the other thing is, too, not quite the same quality on the NFC side, but
alive. There's life.
Tampa leading a division at 6-7.
The whole division is
the
6 and 7.
The Vikings winning a game 3-0, 6-7-6. Green Bay wins tonight. They're 7-6. The Rams lose a coin flip to Baltimore in overtime yesterday, 6-7. Seattle 6-7. Atlanta 6-7. The Saints 6-7. And I'm going to do this despite the fact Ryan McCormick not being here. The Bears sitting there at 5-8, not completely dead right now in the NFC.
Mathematically, what is there? 2 teams dead? Like yesterday, the
Carolina
Patriots
Panthers and the New England Patriots are done. They're done.
Right.
And I think if Tennessee wins today, I think they're not mathematically eliminated, but they would basically need everyone in the 7-6 crew to lose out, and I don't, and that's not mathematically possible.
Well, some of them are playing each other,
so play each other in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. So I mean, look, Steelers and Colts will play each other on Saturday this week. Don't forget we've got, and we'll get to it, but we've got
3 on Saturday,
a Thursday, 3 Saturday, and everybody else except Monday night. The Eagles and Seahawks will play on Sunday.
All I will say is, Vinny, you are giving a lot of credit to Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell being an NFL quality game on Thursday night.
Hey, I didn't say it was a quality game. I said we have a game. I didn't say what kind of. I didn't say what quality. By the way, they bet the under in that game already.
Shocking!
From 34.
Shocking. Chargers haven't scored. Chargers have scored 1 touchdown in 2 weeks, and the Raiders got shut out 3-0.
So there you go. We may set a new. We seem to set a new record every week.
But by the way, as ridiculous as it is, I actually like the Chargers to win outright on Thursday night because it would make a whole boatload of sense that Herbert gets hurt. They go on the road with Easton Stick and finally win a football game. It would make sense if something stupid like that happened. Regardless, the second game tonight, though.
Yeah.
They took the 14. They took the 14 with Tennessee back to 13.5. And I'm going to be honest with you here, Vinny. I'm a little surprised this total's been banged to the under, especially with the way Miami has played against these bottom feeders, where these games are high scoring because Miami just scores whatever they want to do. And we were going through it before. Miami has played one team that's currently over 500 at home this year, and that's the Denver Broncos. Who are not that team in Week 3.
That's right.
So
I mean, that was the absolute annihilation. It was nearly a record, right?
I will tell you, Vinny, the funniest result possible left on the board in the NFL season is Denver going to Miami in a playoff game and beating them.
Oh my God.
That is the funniest result possible left on the board here.
Again, it speaks to the length of the season and how teams can. You're never out of it after that first month. Everybody thought that the Bengals were out of it, except you, Jeff. You said that they had a chance to put the Bengals to sleep, and they didn't. So,
well, I thought Joe Burrow's injury put the Bengals to sleep, but boy was I wrong.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So again, look at what's happening for as many quarterback. We'll call it. I'll be generous and call it question marks as there are. There were some really good stories, right? I mean, and depending on the week, even Josh Dobbs, although this was not one of them. But, I think tonight's total's got a lot to do with Tennessee because Tennessee doesn't score quite a bit. I mean, we know that the Dolphins can score.
I don't.
Sorry
That's okay.
about that.
Is that? Wait a second. Is that
I
like?
guess
Is
we-
that
I
a
thought-
TV? Is that a TV direction? If you go like this.
Alex had,
He thought I was
was gearing up
jumping
to say
in.
something. I
I didn't
apologize
know
there.
if I
Sorry.
Go ahead, Alex.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you kind of stumped me because you said the Titans don't score, but I'm on the first half over, so
Okay.
I was trying to figure out how to switch from what you
Go right
just
ahead.
said
Listen.
to make sense for my bet.
Yo.
But they do give up points, Vinny. So
yes,
whether
they
or not
do.
they score, and last week they
Yeah.
started out hot against the Colts, put 17 up in that first half. So yeah, I'm on 23.5 for first half.
23.5. Okay.
Miami is 9-2 to the over in first halves this season.
There you go. Good, Alex. There you go.
We already went through it. We always leave you out of my pick. So
Going to the rest of this week here. You mentioned it. Saturday, the first selection of bowl games also on Saturday.
Right.
An NFL triple header, which I gotta be honest with you here, Vinny. I'm a little surprised at how the market has played the night game on Saturday right now, which is Denver at Detroit.
Betting the betting the Lions. Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that the market is doing that with the way that, and look, I understand that a lot of people think Denver's been a luck box during this run where they're forcing turnovers, cashing in on the turnovers. I understand that argument. But watching Detroit this last month,
Yeah. Especially their defense.
Their defense is terrible. And they are very fortunate that the Bears choked away that game, the first one, because they're looking at 1-3 in their last four, with the only win being a game against New Orleans, where New Orleans just played themselves out of the game early in the game.
They did. I think it would not shock me if this game continues to go up, but then we'll come back down.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are, you can call them smoke screens,
Head
false
fakes.
moves, whatever you want. Is it also a matter of, hey, the Lions have to get things right. They've got to sort some things out too. But again, now sitting at 5, dead number. Does it get to 6? Perhaps. And if it does, I think we're going to come down the ladder the way we went up the ladder in this one.
speaking on the Lions defense, in their last 5 games, they've given up 17 touchdowns and only forced 15 punts. So
turnovers as well, too.
Turnovers
Goff has
as well.
really played much worse, really, than he had previously.
Yeah, and look, and Steph brought this up earlier on the show, our guest Stephie Smalls. I mean, we know Goff is much better indoors. We know this. But the one thing that I am a little bit worried about with the way the Lions have played, and look, it's funny to say it, that, hey, they're in trouble when that offense, before yesterday, where it was an outdoor game, and we know he's historically struggled in Chicago, 40 after the bye, 41 points, 31 points, 22 points, 33 points. Like, that's not missing a beat offensively. But that defense is so bad. And, boy, that game against Dallas, week 17, I already have that circled, because if Dallas, let's say Dallas loses the 2 games against the AFC teams the next 2 weeks, which they're the small favorite against Buffalo, right? Or excuse me, Buffalo is the small favorite right now against Dallas.
About
you would
2.
imagine that Miami will be a small favorite against Dallas the week after that as well. Miami plays, again, Tennessee tonight, bad team. The Jets next week, a team they should be able to handle as well. So they're not going anywhere in the power ratings. And even with a win in Buffalo for Dallas, I'd still make Miami a smallest of favorites in that game as well. That could be a great buy low spot on Dallas against Detroit. And I know I'm talking 3 weeks from now, but that feels like, hey, Dallas looks okay, splits these games or goes 0-2, and they really put it on Detroit when they return home, when we know they've been a juggernaut.
They could. I mean, they've been terrific at home, not just this year, but for the last couple of years. And last night, listen, they answered.
It was a domination.
They answered the criticism, right, that they hadn't beaten anybody good. Well, now, I would say now they finally beat somebody better, because there's issues with Philadelphia too. Let's face it. I mean, Philadelphia's offense has sputtered the last couple of weeks. We know they've had some defensive injuries. I suspect they'll get things right. If you look at their schedule, by the way, the Eagles' schedule is very favorable. I mean, they go to Seattle next a week from today, but then they've got 3 games left. They're both 2 of them are against the Giants, and they're sandwiched around the Cardinals. So from a scheduling standpoint too, I know the Cowboys are very much aware of the difference in strength of schedule between both of them.
Well, and also too, as we talked about earlier in the show, if both teams win out, Philadelphia still wins the division despite being behind today.
Yeah,
because the way it would play out, if they're both 14-3, Philadelphia's one loss against the Jets will actually push them ahead of Dallas because of a better NFC record.
Yeah.
See?
Tiebreakers.
You only want to lose to the Jets, right, Vinny?
The Jets will haunt you no matter what. No matter what happens,
haunt the
Jets
Cowboys somehow on that.
They're gonna haunt. They'll haunt bettors. They'll haunt teams.
They'll haunt the fans. They'll do it all. All right. Before we get out of here tonight, I just do want to ask you, because this is a big week, obviously NFL wise.
Yeah.
Where Dallas and Buffalo is just gigantic game. Seattle and Philly's a really good Monday night game. Baltimore Jacksonville's pretty darn good itself on the Sunday night. And popular teams are looking. I mean, Cleveland and Chicago is even a really intriguing game all of a sudden too.
Yeah. I mean, there's some terrific games. The way this is spread out, and then you sprinkle in these bowl games, which, by the way, have become a nightmare.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm full disclosure, but I think you will see so much more concentrated on the NFL because, first of all, there's no bye. Everybody's playing, okay, and it starts on Thursday. The games on Saturday are going to be extremely well bet, and and again, we still have. It's the last weekend of the road, so there's so much business. I mean, there's great business today, and tonight's games are being tied already into, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday next week. I would say that this Thursday night game coming up, you go, it's not a great matchup. It's not. I will tell you this: there's going to be more going to it because it's jump starting with a doubleheader tonight. So it's really going to have a lot more sizzle to it as we get further into the weekend when we get to Thursday.
Well, and these two always play each other well.
Oh, they do.
Chargers do have the first win, so a little revenge for the Raiders, but I don't hate what Jeff said with them winning outright somehow. But
I will say it is also going to be the first time that Aiden O'Connell has seen a team twice. Because
they've seen him twice.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? That's my point. The Chargers, they beat him
because he started, and then Jimmy came back for a couple games.
Yeah, and he started Hoyer in Chicago.
Right.
It's not the preseason,
So,
and Josh McDaniels ended up with an interminable preseason of no games anymore, and being out as the coach. But that is we'll talk about it on Thursday, and I'm curious how the market plays that game with let's be real here. Two bad quarterbacks playing in a primetime game, and as you said, they've already played it in the way with betting.
We
said
that a couple of weeks ago about people were saying that about Bailey Zappi. Look what he went
Bailey,
and did to Pittsburgh and did.
Bailey Zappi.
Right? It's still an NFL team. You don't know what's going to happen. There were 3 points scored in the Raider game yesterday. There might be 33 points or 43 points scored in this one. And you're going to get a chance to determine that with the total.
And also, too, Vinny, before we say goodbye for today, it's the Los Angeles Chargers playing a football game. Anything's possible is in play when the Los Angeles Chargers put the helmet on.
That's right.
Anything's possible. From the good to the what just happened to the wow, this is terrible. I mean, anything is in play when the LA Chargers put that white helmet on.
Again, scored 36 and 38 points in 2 home games and lost them both.
Yeah. And then won a game 6-0.
And then won a game 6-0.
Yeah. It makes
wow.
Yeah. Actually, Vinny, I do have to mention it before we leave. The fact that the Jet-Texan game was 0-0 at halftime and found a way to go over is one of the funniest things, unless if you had said under of the entire NFL season. That team put 30 on your head in order to get it over.
They're making their move, Jeff. They're making their move.
Again, don't let them get hot. All right. That's where we're going to end here today. We're back tomorrow. Actually, no, we're not, because I thought it was Thursday for some reason, as I was saying that. I'm not back tomorrow, but Frank Nicotero's back tomorrow.
Punchlines.
With Punchlines. Also, new addition to the network, Wednesday morning, back again is Ralph Sirocco.
Race Day, Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, early in the morning. Get everything you need to know about the day in horse racing across the country with Ralph. Wednesday through Sunday here, 7 a.m. Pacific time, right here for an hour. Of course, Frank, as always, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific time. Alex, enjoy your off day tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you too.
I will do the same as well. This has been Sports by the Book. We're back Thursday, 3 o'clock Pacific time for the preview of the great Chargers and Raiders game that weekend on Thursday Night Football. I'm Jeff Parles for Vinny Magliulo, Alex White, Jerry, and great work as always behind the glass. We'll see you again Thursday on Sports by the Book.